Good evening. It's not so late, but I guess it's maybe like in the evening in Israel. Not yeah, it's kind of like towards the evening in Israel. It's very early in the morning in the United States. I have guests. I talked with a person today, and I hope that she comes to my podcast and speak with me. But I actually told her a story about probably I needed two people in my life. Um, anyways, before starting my podcast, please download my episodes and talk about my podcast with your friends. And also visit my homepage. It has been changing. So, but anyway, um, it has been. I have to say, very difficult in maybe character compared to other people. It's very difficult for me to understand some of the jokes Japanese people say. Yeah, it's very difficult for me, and people might think that I was brought up as bilingual, and that's why I have a second mother like woman who speaks English. But maybe I talked about the pain in people just last night. It's very, sometimes when it's very, very, very stressful, you forget about it. You want to forget everything. But actually, it was a very, very long story in my life. And it goes back to grade 2, I have to say. Um, no, today is a little about myself, but I will probably talk about why I do not like to subjectively talk about my pain. Well, I really hate to talk about this, but I will. When I was 8 years old, my mother was diagnosed with hepatitis C. At the time, I was told that there is no way to cure her disease. And I had to go through the checkup if I had hepatitis C or not. And I did not have hepatitis C. It's still a mystery why my mother had hepatitis C. Remembering it was such a long time ago, grade 2 means 8 years old, or less, I have to say. 7. I was, I was very sad. I really hate to say this, but it's true. And also I was shocked. it was very difficult, but what my mother did was not about crying. She told me to face the reality and face uh, life. It was a very, very difficult lesson for me. Such a tough lesson. And maybe I really needed time to think. And also I did not have enough confidence to admit that I can face all the reality and I can move forward. I mean, everything was so uncertain, but it was not, well, my second mother like person. She she made me maybe change what I think. Well, like not what I think about what I thought at the time. It's not about what I thought, the way I thought, but she um, showed me a different reality in the U.S. And I do not wish to see people from California actually, like, but I will, yeah, like I have friends from my childhood, and I think a lot, um, and I don't know what to say. My mother had two cancers, and now she's going through a leg surgery, and before that, the hepatitis C, this bothered me until I was in the final year of high school. And I was wondering for a long time what to say or how to live. See, this is something I really hate, but I used to do this kind of thing, which is making a speech in front of people. But this story about my mother, it was a firm secret, even to my second mother. After my mother cured, I told her about this story. But she did not know about it. It was painful. It's true. When I was in junior high school, I participated in various speech contests. I won prizes, but at the very bottom line, there was my life. Winning the contest was not my life, and I mean it is a part of my life. It was, but ultimately I had so much worries in my life that I just thought that I just could not get along with my classmates. I mean, some people did try to understand me, of course. I remember that. But I was probably very difficult. And I thought that working is something necessary or important in my life from the age of 15, okay? Those ages, like school kids are stupid. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. Or they are seriously studying. Had time to game? Well, I would say it was a waste of time. Um, yes, I met some people, including my second mother, and actually Mr. Harry. Um, I did not tell him either. It was always in my mind, and I got used to it because my mother said you have to face the truth, reality, all the time. You cannot just sink in the feelings and you have to face the truth. That was a very, very hard life lesson, but at the very bottom line, it's true. And in a different sense, I am a different person from her. Different logic, different values, different philosophy. It's not because I had second mother, but I really, really had to think myself. And I will tell you about the medical expenses. Well, before that, I talked about this with a person too today, just today. And um, a taxi driver, she used a taxi driver when I was in high school, so it was like 30 years ago. One time when she was in a taxi driver started to brag about the doctor he drives around. He was a driver, appointed driver for a certain doctor. Of course, my family knows a lot of physicians, but she did not know about him. And what the taxi driver bragged about was that he knew the doctor for liver cancer, hepatitis, and he's very famous. And he was very proud of driving him around. So my mother, that was my mother's last hope, I guess, and last resort for her. And there was no choice for medical treatment, and it's sometimes cruel. And thinking back, I will tell you why I tell this. But she had interferon once a week for a few years, maybe 3 years, I think. Um, it costs 80,000 yen, which was about like $750 to $800. Oh, just one time. Multiple 4 times, once a week. So it was $2,400 because hepatitis C was not covered by the insurance at the time. It was not about the medical expense, but she was very sick during the treatment. It was very hard for her, but she had to face this reality that she had to go through the treatment. When I was in high school, actually, I started to think in the second year, I was thinking that maybe there is a time that I have to say goodbye to my mother. I have to say. Earlier than other students, it was very hard. But when I was in high school, it had been years and years and years. And I had to think a lot of things. And also the reality in my life. What I was going to do with the university, she thought that she could afford my university expenses um, before she goes, she thought. But I at some point in my life in high school, I decided to think that I just become independent. And I felt that I did not need anyone to support me to go to a university. I just felt that way. I decided to work and have um, earn expenses for my university and also my life. It's very different from other students, but I thought that it would be a very realistic and realistic choice in my life, I thought. So I just started to get ready for it, really. And in the third year, she totally cured. But, and then the government started to say, we're going to issue medical I have to say, like an allowance, like uh, special uh, government allowance, so that those with hepatitis C are able to get treatment with $10,000, 10,000 yen a month. Well, that was so I have to say 4 plus 3 plus 3. So 4 plus, it's 10 years after my mother was diagnosed with hepatitis C. Think about this. How many people do you think died of liver cancer because of hepatitis C? Because they could not pay for the expenses. Well, fortunately, my mother could afford it. But what about other people who could not afford it? I mean, they end up not being able to work, and the government doesn't care. I mean, what kind of government is that? And now it's like the war. Well, it's important, very. And in reality, we are facing the increase of the defense expenses in reality, and the medical bills are killing people, and especially the new medicines are expensive to people. So those who could not afford 800 multiple by 4, meaning $3,200, had to die. That's what the government told people. How do you feel? After my mother got totally cured, I was frantic about this reality. Very upset, very angry at the reality that so many people had to die because of the medical bills. It's just terrible. And it's cruel. Like, I cannot say my mother could pay and you cannot pay, and that's why you died. Is that what I can think? I mean, it is just so terrible. But that was the reality of that I saw at the end of high school. Fortunately, my mother did not die. But 10 years I suffered. And probably that changed the views that I see my life or the life itself. It was very difficult, but it's not just about my mother, it's also about others. I mean, it's very hard, maybe, to people to objectively think of something. But I really had to be objective. And what my mother told was that you cannot really just live with the feelings. And that was my mother's lesson. She was a hardcore woman in 40s and 50s. And I was more of different as a person or personality. I developed different personality. And it may be because my grandmother raised me. I don't know. My grandmother was very different. She was very different from my mother. And ultimately now, I think that I am not like my grandmother, or I'm not like my mother. And I will probably not be like them in the future when I get much older. But yeah, I will not have children in my life. The only choice would be to have an adoption, but that's another thing that I have to think. But anyway, I don't want to think about it right now. But anyway, I had to think just so many things when other children, I have to say, or classmates did not have to think all these. And I could not talk about my mother's sickness to them either. I mean, probably it was not because my mother did not tell me not to say, but I chose not to say also. So, I mean, I am as a person very different, but I really do not like to praise myself so much. It's really true, and I really do not like it. And those who like to do that kind of thing, I would be like, what the fuck are you? Like, I'm an established woman, blah, 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 all those things. Well, I do a lot of things in my real life. But I would say that I don't really like to call myself on it's like a confident woman. I don't need confidence that kind of way. I really think that, of things that way. But I really want to see the reality all the time. Never miss it. And probably that's different from my mother either. Or maybe she did not intend to teach what I learned in my life. And I developed my own value in the end. So there were two people who raised me. One person was my real mother. The other person was, she was a terrible cook. I inherited that too, like how she cooks. And then I actually made terrible cake with her too. And I did terrible things with her and just laughed a lot. But I could laugh a lot. of stupid things. But um, but I did not have to forget all. And when I was in the U.S., uh, it was a moment. It was a very, very quiet moment, a peaceful moment. It's true. I did not have to just. I really felt that I did not feel uncomfortable in a way. And I made friends who are still my friends. So, I mean, even though they don't have to, well, they don't have to talk with me every day, but they're my friends. Anytime when I see them, I can laugh or whatever. And I would, well, now I don't have to worry about my mother's hepatitis. But I think that, I think of the people who really could not afford them for a long time. And there was a time when I thought that maybe I should be a physician. It's like people around me. There were so many physicians, but and lawyers too. But um, I was not. I did. I really do not like to. I just ended up reaching conclusions that I do not want to be a doctor, even a psychiatrist. And then I felt that I just, uh, I just felt so, like I was so determined to earn for my living and the university expenses. Well, my grandfather did that. He did not ask for the expenses. He changed his surname to the old surname, the birth name, not the name that of his stepfather. And also, he decided to live on his own. I cannot be like him. I could not be like him. I'm different. But I would say that, well, it's not just about medical bills, but sometimes people really have hard times expressing the sadness or what they think. It's really hard. I can understand that it's really hard. And so I don't reach conclusions when I speak with people so much. Like judgmental, I guess. Like, oh, she's like this, she's like that. Well, it really takes time for me to see people, but observing people is not like, um, what people think, I guess. Um, but anyway, um, yeah, like this Sunday, the morning, this terrible TV program by TBS, yes, it was run. I didn't watch it, I didn't have time for it. Um, there are like two selfish dogs in my house, just asking for food all the time. And one dog needs, I try to feed them different foods, and then they look at each other and like, we're gonna eat yours. I don't know why they do that, but they do it, and they learn somehow how to do it. It's terrible. But anyway, I don't, yes, I would say that it's not very easy for people to say how they feel. And sometimes, and very often, and sometimes people say something different instead of like what maybe a person really thinks or intends. So, anyway, I had to say this because I often feel this um, when people went through trauma, to be honest, and maybe I might be classified into that part, but I I think that maybe I need to overcome at some point, and that's something that maybe I need to change in the next 20 years or something and be more optimistic and have a later life or something. But anyways, um I think I'm going to end this story. I really want to end the story. So, um like I changed the music. The last music, actually, the first music was also the music composed by Israeli, and this one too. Um, anyway, please visit my webpage, explore my webpage. I'm going to develop something very interesting as a content. Anyway, that's about it for today. And I hope that you have a good night or good morning to my friends in the East Coast, or yeah, have a good just rest of the Sunday, I have to say. Good night.